It's from the Dailies, your early morning companion.
Every Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m.
on Melody 107.7 FM.
Headlines that shape the nation. Stories from the north, south, east, and west. Brought to you fresh and fast.
With expert analysis, sharp opinions, and sound presenters breaking it all down clearly, smartly, and straight to the point.
Politics, business, security, health, society. Nothing escapes the spotlight.
This is your head start into Nigeria's biggest stories of the day. From the Dailies, news that talks to you. Only on Melody 107.7 FM, Lagos.
Hello and thanks for joining us on another refreshing edition of From the Dailies. It's the first edition for the week where we get to look through stories that make it to the front pages and inner pages of legitimate Nigerian newspapers that we can lay hold of. It is the 29th day of June 2026 this morning, and I'm Matthew Oluwasegun Ijabiken, MOR, reporting for duty.
It's really good, my name, and you're welcome to today's edition. Let's get right to it and see what the news is saying this morning. From my hand, I've got stories from the Nigerian Tribune as well as the Punch newspaper.
And on this side of the divide, I have the Nation as well as the Vanguard newspapers. All right, now starting with the Nation newspaper with a major story here. How State police bill versions differ. And it has its rider runs under it. Lawmakers to raise harmonization panel July 7. The second rider, Kalu, no cause for alarm. You can get details of this on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. And FCCPC threatens sanction against petrol price profiteers. That's in details also on page 2. Then moving on, above the masthead, Lagos Ogun float operation Kosaye. So, word of kidnappers. That's on page 6 for details on the Nation newspaper. Still above the masthead, federal government Benway to fish out Magban leaders killers. You can find that on page 3 for details. Moving on, troops killed 2 Lakurawa terrorists in hideout raid, and that's on page 27 for details. Investors will realign portfolios ahead of second quarter results. That's on page 13 for details. Let me take this one also. Pope prays as a death toll in Venezuela quake. It's 1,430,68,900 missing, and that's on page 30 for details. All of this on the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning.
Away from that, let's pay attention to the Nigerian Tribune this morning. From page 14, Providence Unity Bank set to commence operation as one unified institution. You find that on page 14 and on page 25 on the matter of the operation Kosaye, Ogun. Lagos AO police onslaught against criminals. The rider says police arrest 88, rescue 5 kidnapped victims, I mean to say. And then on page 4, Osun CSO suspend protest, give IGP 72 hours to redeploy police commissioners. The lead story for the Nigerian Tribune newspaper says concern over high cost of petrol. You find out on page 7. And on page 22, Ogun links Ijebu gas emission to geological fault line. Tinubu, Sanwo-Olu, Bode George honors Abat Macaulay 80 years after. That's on page 22. And on page 2, anxiety grips candidate as INEC releases code for upload. The rider says ADC receives theirs. It's still waiting game for NDC. Resident doctor declare industrial dispute. Give federal government fresh 4-week deadline. That's on page 22. And on the 8th corner now, I think this is, let me take that. Frequent ejaculation may improve sperm quality. This is according to Oxford study. Whatever you want to make do with that, that is from the 8th corner of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning.
And now on the Vanguard newspaper, with a big bold one, federal government, others struggling to meet obligations despite rise in revenue. It has some riders on the rate. Well, you can find details of this on page 11. Above the masthead, Peter Obi can't beat Tinubu in Lagos again, and that's credited to presidency. Motorists, commuters stranded as a flood submerges Lagos roads, and that's on page 6 for details. Still above the masthead, FCCPC to marketers, cuts petrol prices to or face sanctions, and that's on page 28 for details. 2027 timeline, INEC parties disagree over access codes for candidates. Away from that, a four bag 95-year jail terms for rape in Niger. I think this is a very good one. If people are being, brought to book, or should I say prosecuted for engaging in rape, and and they are saying 95-year jail term for anyone who is caught culpable of rape. Okay, that's on page 28 for details on the Vanguard newspaper. Telecom subscribers rise to 188 million as a broadband penetration hits 55.67%. That's on page 9 for details. Industrial disputes, NAD, that is the National Association of Resident Doctors, gives federal government 4 weeks to avert nationwide strike, and that's on page 9. This one also, Serap gives Apabio Abbas 1 week to probe 6.3 billion naira constituency funds or face a legal action. 2027 timeline, INEC parties disagree over access code for candidates. That's on all of this on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper this morning.
Finally this morning, as we begin to take the details of the stories, let's read from the Punch newspaper this morning. 5-month crude export fetch Nigerian 20 trillion naira. That means they fetched crude oil for, they exported it for 5 months, and then the profit there was 20 trillion naira. Then on another note, 1.34 million Nigerians denied UK visa in 21 years. Operation Kosaye. Police hunt kidnappers in Lagos, Ogun Forest. State Police. National Assembly sends bill to 36 State Assembly. And the lead story for the Punch newspaper says Obi Kwankwaso lead NDC's battle against the registration. A number of write down that, but let me take this one. Obi Kwankwaso Dixon in marathon meeting as NDC files appeal today. Chaos as flooding shut Lagos airport temporary terminal. Kogi teachers die after alleged assault for disciplined pupil. Profidus Unity Bank begins operation after merger. All of these stories you will find in details across the pages of the Punch newspaper this morning.
All right, now we start to take details of the stories. But don't forget that we are live on Facebook at Melody 107.7. Also, in case you want to share your contribution by calling, the number to call is 0906 201 1077. Again, 0906 201 1077 or 0704 800 1077. Again, 0704 800 1077. All right, I have with me the Nation newspaper this morning. Lagos Ogun flows Operation Kosai to ward off kidnappers. Governors Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos and Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State yesterday hailed the instant success recorded by Operation Kosai, a joint police outfit floated by the two states to battle kidnappers and criminals. Operation Kosai, which translates as no space for criminals, violent criminal networks operating within the two states. Operators have been coming forest boundaries between Lagos and Ogun states, particularly along the J3 and J4 axis of Ogbere. I don't know if I got that right. Of Ogbere in Ogun State, in search of fleeing suspects and criminal hideouts. The police said they were committed to intelligence-led operations to ensure there was no safe haven for criminals in the region. The governors were reacting to reports of the rescue of 5 kidnapped victims within 24 hours of their abduction, killing of 4 of the suspected kidnappers, and arrest of 88 other suspects by the joint operation. Lagos Ogun floats Operation Kosai to ward off kidnappers. In details on the Nation newspaper this morning.
From the Punch newspaper this morning, Obi Kwankwanso lead NDC's battle against deregistration. The leadership of the Nigerian Democratic Congress, NDC, has wrapped up marathon strategy meeting involving its presidential candidates, Peter Obi, national leader, Seriake Dixon, National Working Committee member, and other key stakeholders ahead of Monday's appeal against the court ruling that nullified its registration. The development comes barely 48 hours after the Federal High Court in Lokoja, Kogi State, set aside its earlier judgment directing the Independent National Electoral Commission to register the NDC. The ruling has intensified political tension and drawn condemnation from opposition leaders, who insist that the decision is aimed at weakening opposition force ahead of the 2027 general election. A senior party official who spoke to the Punch on conditions of anonymity because he was not authorized to comment publicly disclosed that the party leadership had been holding back-to-back emergency meeting to finalize its legal arm strategy before approaching the Court of Appeal on Monday. Obi Kwankwanso leads NDC battle against deregistration. You'll find this in details on the Punch newspaper this morning.
In National Nation newspaper strike, resident doctors extend ultimatum by 4 weeks. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors (NAD) has extended the 21-day ultimatum it issued to the federal government by 4 weeks. The association warned that it might embark on an industrial action if outstanding welfare and professional demands are not fully addressed within the new timeline. The NAD, that is the Association of Resident Doctors, said it decided at an extraordinary National Executive Council (ENEC) meeting held virtually on June 27, hours before the initial ultimatum it issued on June 8 expired. In a communique signed by its president, Dr. Muhammad Suleiman, the Secretary General, Dr. Shuaibu Ibrahim, and the Publicity and Social Secretary, Dr. Abdulmajid Ibrahim, the association said the extension would give the government more time to implement agreed resolutions and enable members to review the level of compliance at its July 2026 NEC meeting in Gombe State. However, NAD declared that an industrial dispute currently exists between the association and the federal government over unresolved issues, stressing that it could not guarantee industrial harmony beyond the 4-week window if satisfactory progress was not recorded. Strike. Resident doctors extend ultimatum by 4 weeks. That's in details on the Nation newspaper this morning.
Back to the Punch newspaper this morning. Dangote Refinery import first UAE crude cargoes. The Dangote Petroleum Refinery has purchased 2 cargoes of crude oil from the United Arab Emirates, marking its first ever procurement of Middle East crude as it expands its feedstock sources amid persistent domestic supply constraints. According to a report by S&P Global Commodity Insights, the 2 cargoes will be the first sourced by the 700,000 barrels per day refinery from any Middle Eastern supply, signaling a shift from its traditional reliance on Nigerian, African, and United States crude grades. The report said the purchase followed the resumption of oil export from Middle East after the United States and Iran reached an interim peace agreement that restored confidence in shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. You'll find a story in details on the Punch with the headline saying Dangote Refinery import first UAE crude cargoes. In details on the Punch newspaper.
All right, still on the Nation newspaper. Council kicks off a road construction in Ikeja. Chairman of Ikeja local government, Akim Dauda, has kicked off the construction of Akpena Street, a major road in Ikeja. Dauda said the project was initiated to improve access to one of Ikeja's cultural communities while preserving its heritage. He explained that the road leads to the residents of the regions of Ikeja and is located within one of the Ikeja's traditional communities, adding that the area regularly receives local and international visitors who come to experience Ikeja's cultural heritage. According to him, the road is also frequently used by residents and students seeking letters of indigene, making its rehabilitation essential to improving accessibility and projecting a positive image of Ikeja. Dauda said the project was part of his administration's efforts to give back to the community, adding that despite the road's short length, it is culturally and historically important. Council kicks off road construction in Ikeja. Details of this on the Nation newspaper this morning.
Now, finally, from the Punch, as we proceed to other newspaper this morning, Amuson win Paris Diamond League. World record holder Toby Amuson equaled a season's best of 12.28 seconds to win the women's 100-meter hurdles at the Paris Diamond League on Sunday. Punch Sport Extra reports. The Nigerians stormed to victory ahead of American Pierre Grace Stark, who finished seconds in 12.38 seconds, and Asha Johnson, who placed third in 12.39 seconds. Amuson produced a strong finish after reeling in Visa, who had taken an earlier lead, before pulling clear of the field to secure a comfortable victory. It was the third time the 28-year-old had clocked 12.28 seconds this season, having recorded the same time at the Xiamen Diamond League and Rabat Diamond League in May. Back to the headline, Amuson wins Paris Diamond League. You find that also in details on the Punch newspaper this morning.
And now, dollar, and now on the Vanguard newspaper, we have dollar to naira exchange rate today, June 29, 2026. All right, the Nigerian naira traded at an official exchange rate of, according to the latest available market data, the official rate indicates that $100 will exchange for about 1,300. I beg your pardon? 137,922 naira at the NFAEM window, while $1,000 would be worth approximately 1.379 million naira at the prevailing rate. In the parallel market, commonly referred to as the black market, the dollar traded around 1,319 naira for buying and between 1,400 naira and 1,405 naira for selling, depending on location, transaction volume, and dealer quotations across major cities, including Lagos and Abuja. Okay, at this point, on our way, won't give me dollar, beg me could I bring it now because the rate is now high. So dollar to naira exchange rate today, June 2026. You can find details of this on the Vanguard newspaper this morning.
All right, we'll go on this quick break, and when we return, we dive straight into other further stories as we continue the dailies. Just stay with us. As we continue the dailies, just stay with us. Radio, welcome back. This is still from the Dailies right here on Melody 107.7 FM. We've taken some of the stories in details, and now let's move on before we call it a wrap on today's edition. From the Nigerian Tribune, over 1,000 Imam launch CAC recognized Islamic body. More than 1,000 imams and afar from across Yoruba land on Edo and Delta coverage in Ibadan, Oyo State on Saturday for the launch of a new government-registered League of Imams and Afars aimed at reforming Islamic leadership in the region. The event, which drew clerics from Oyo, Ogun, Osun, Ondo, Ekiti, Lagos, Edo, and Delta State, received the endorsement of the Oluwo of Iwoland, Oba Abdurrashid Adewale Akambi. In a statement in Oshogbo, the monarch said the new body, registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission under number 9003000, marks a departure from the past and a shift towards structured and decentralized leadership. Over 1,000 Imam launches CAC recognized Imam Islamic body. You'll find that in details on the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning.
And also on the Vanguard newspaper, federal government unveils the 2026 push for industrial growth, trade, investment. The federal government is set to intensify efforts to drive industrial growth, expand trade, mobilize investment, and boost non-oil exports in 2026 as part of its economic diversification agenda. Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole stated this at a management retreat of directors general, directors, and chief executives of agencies under the ministry. She said the focus is to translate policy into measurable economic outcomes through stronger implementation, collaboration, and performance monitoring. The retreat themed From Policy to Performance, Driving Industrial Growth, Trade Expansion, and Investment Outcomes was convened to review the implementation of the Nigeria Industrial Policy, NIP, described as the country's first comprehensive industrial framework aimed at rebuilding Nigeria's manufacturing base. According to the minister, the retreat seeks to assess progress on the policy and strengthen accountability, noting that previous policy initiatives often faltered at the implementation stage. Federal government unveils 2026 push for industrial growth, trade, investment. Details of this on the Vanguard newspaper this morning.
All right, finally from our hand this morning, from the Independent newspaper this morning, Serap gives Akpabio about 7 days to probe 6.3 billion naira constituency fund. The Socio-Economic Right and Accountability Project, SERAP, has given Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, 7 days to immediately refer allegations surrounding the alleged diversion, misapplication or disappearance of 6.3 billion naira allocated for constituency projects to relevant anti-corruption agency for a thorough investigation and where necessary prosecution of those found culpable. Serap urged Akpabio and Abbas to ensure that anyone found responsible is prosecuted where there is sufficient admissible evidence, and that any constituency project fund or other public fund found to have been diverted or unaccounted for are fully recovered and remitted to the Treasury. Serap also called on them to ensure the full disclosure of the names of the contractors and companies, including their shareholders and beneficial owners, that received constituency project fund but failed to execute the project. Back to the headline, Serap gives Akpabio Abbas 7 days to probe 6.3 billion naira constituency fund. You'll find that in details on the Independent newspaper this morning.
All right, let me take this one lastly from the Vanguard newspaper. Motorists, commuters stranded as floods submerged Lagos roads. Torrential rainfall brought commercial and vehicular activities to a standstill across Lagos yesterday as flash floods submerged major roads, caused motorists and commuters to be stranded and triggered hours of traffic gridlock in several parts of the metropolis. The heavy rain, which began at about noon and lasted till around 4 p.m., inundated highways and inner city roads, leaving many vehicles trapped in flood waters, while others broke down, worsening traffic congestion across the state. Okay, You can find details of this on the Vanguard newspaper for today.
All right, it is on that note that we'll call it a wrap on to this edition of From the Daily Journal, same time, same station, where we get to give you fresh news, fresh details of stories, making it across various legitimate newspapers to keep you abreast. Keep it locked in with Melody FM, and until tomorrow, do not forget, the change you desire begins with you. The change I desire begins with me. So play your part, make Nigeria a better one. Israeli guys, my name saying bye for now.
Well, in case you missed any part of today's show, you can go back to our Facebook page to watch it at Melody 107.7. From the Dailies comes your way Mondays through Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. So keep it a date with from Dailies tomorrow as well.